Hi there, welcome to another track breakdown. Only this one's going to be a little bit different because it's exclusive to people on the Patreon. First of all, many thanks if you've subscribed. It obviously means a whole lot to me, and I really hope you get something out of this as well. Because as I said in my sort of like reasonings on my blog about why I wanted to start a Patreon, I didn't want to be just like the guy who releases loads of music and let's try and just like crawl a bit of money back from every album I put out. I kind of wanted to do a bit more because I realized that the whole genesis of it was that I sort of lost my job. So like I thought I've got a lot of stuff that people might want outside of the sort of realm of just releasing stuff. So like these sorts of things I really enjoy, and I hope you do as well, because it's quite nice to sort of branch out a little bit from the whole, I'll just make another album. It becomes a bit of a punchline, and then that kind of thing. So like, so yeah, again, many thanks if you subscribe to this. That's amazing. And I really hope you get something out. This is a track breakdown for "Tell It to the Mountain," which was from my album The Pivot, which came out earlier this year. I say earlier this year; it was about a month ago. It features a good friend of mine called Cole Comfort. It's called Ben, who's a really, really cool sort of like one-man punk rock sort of party. If you've ever seen him live, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because he basically just presses play on a laptop and then just like screams and shouts and runs all over the stage and all like right in your face, and yeah, it's really good fun. But anyway, yeah, so here we go. This is a little breakdown for that. Yeah, the track started basically with this synth line, which is this one. Pretty good, right? That's what it sounds like, sort of, on its own, or what it did sound like when I recorded it. It was actually on my sort of a new edition. The Mini Brute 2 is like a big sort of semi-modular synth. I think they're sort of like marketing it as, but it's basically just a big synth with a little patch bass, so you can sort of like mess around. And I think I was sort of like messing around on the if you hear that, it was just like messing around on the presets and just taking out random bits and bobs and putting them back in. The annoying thing about this as well is that it was actually out of tune when I recorded it, so I added another synth here, which thickens up the sound a little bit. Oof, that sounds a bit rough, doesn't it? Oof, it's not warped very well, that. Although that is in keeping with the sort of punk rockness of it all. How badly is it? Oh yeah, it's not great, is it? Okay, so anyway, those two sort of like play off each other. So one's just pitched up a little bit more, but as I said, yeah, both of them are sort of out of tune, or the whole synth was a little bit out of tune. So it didn't really help matters when I came to actually. It sounds a lot better like that, though, doesn't it? Let's face it. It doesn't. It didn't really help matters when I came to sort of want to put this in a tune, which is why it kind of sat here. The original sort of synth WAV. Where is it? I think I cut it up actually in the end. It's this one here. And it just sat there for ages, and I didn't really know what to do with it. And I was a bit like, oh god, like it's all out of tune. It's really slow. I mean, it's 61 BP. The BPM of it's 61, so it's really slow and really churny and really a bit gnarly and horrible. But then I sort of like had a bit of a brainwave, and I thought like, yeah, let's cut this up. Let's mess around with it a little bit. I added just a little sort of random atmosphere there, bit of delay. It's just from a sample pack that I think, from the downtempo modular one, which I've talked about quite a lot in my other ones. But so I figured it worked quite well with like a real slow sort of like 9 Inch Nailsy, sort of all that like weird kind of. I mean, listen to that. I mean, I don't usually put kicks like that in anything, really, because it's really hard. I mean, it's called Thickums for a start. I mean, it's I was off a Detroit Electro sample pack that I got, so yeah, it's quite big and beefy, but I wanted something with a lot of punch. so it really smack you in the face. Like we'll come back to the vocals in a sec, don't worry. But yeah, I really wanted something that would really hit you, not just like a sort of like a nice, polite sort of kick drum. I wanted like hell, like really in your face. But yeah, so I also I got around the sort of out of keyness. That's the bass line. I sort of like swamped the bass line a little bit. I sort of like took a lot of the frequencies out, so it's just bass, and sort of played around with like skipping up notes and stuff, so it sort of gets around the whole, you know, the main crux of the track is out of tune. What's that? Oh yeah, it's like a little see, I didn't even know I had this in here. It's just like a little loop, I think, pitched up. Yeah, oh, from the Detroit Electro one. I think I put this in there just for the intro, just to give it a bit more, bit more drive, like something was happening. Oh yeah, so this is the main synth that I recorded on the Mini Brute, and it's just playing the same note. I can't remember what the settings were, so it's all over the shop with oscillators and how it moves and stuff. And then. Yeah, so it's a bit all over the place, but I sort of managed to cut it up, and it took a lot of work to sort of rein this one in, because otherwise it would, you know, it would be a bit too manic. But yeah, so I added a bit of this as well, my trusty Volca Beats. Oh, I panned it a little bit as well. That's nice, isn't it? That's how it sort of sounds. And then I added that, and then that, and then everything's pretty much sidechained to that massive kick, just to give it a real punch, like a real, like, sort of, listen to that, you don't want to, like, you know, mess around with that. That's pretty beefy. But anyway, so I had this track and I was like, Jesus Christ, this sounds like nothing like a Satan track at all, because it's really slow, it's really heavy, it's really dirty and like grimy. So like, what do you do? So I got in touch with my guy Ben. We played a gig together actually in Shipley, and I thought it was absolutely amazing. I think he's so fun, and like, he's a really nice guy. I've known him for ages anyway, and I just thought that would be such a good idea to get him on this and like give him carte blanche to just go absolutely fucking crazy, which is what he did. So he basically gave me two vocals, one of like sort of effects going on in the background, and one of just his vocal, even with some effects still going on. So there's loads of this kind of stuff, like through delay pedals and just really weird, like nasty, gnarly stuff. I thought that was brilliant. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. You listen to that, what a guy. Yeah, so Ben's class, so like, he did that in like a day as well. He got back to me within, I'm sure it was like 24 hours or something like that, and I was like, what? Because I've tried to work with vocalists in the past, like a lot of them, and holy shit, it's so hard to pin them down or get anything off them. So I just thought like, oh yeah, you know, I might hear back in like a couple of weeks, months, years, whatever. And he did it in a day, and I was like, Jesus, man, that's amazing. So I added loads of stuff. I added some sidechain as well. And it fits so well with like the track. So yeah, so it just sort of like carries on. And then I added a bit of a breakdown because I wanted the track to go like much heavier, but I didn't want to like, you know, do it all at once. So I introduced these, which is the same synth line but with a ton of distortion on. There it is. just to really like kind of. Again, that's quite like un-Satan as well, because I would probably just use the same synth, you know, copy and paste it and blah blah blah. But for this one, I was like, nah, I want something really heavy, really gnarly, but like not quite just yet in the intro. So it took a bit of time to sort of like split everything up and feel where everything was going, and try and like put it all in and stuff. So yeah. Whoa, there you go. So there's a second kick in now there as well, which is that. Jesus. And a clap as well. So all in, that's what the rhythm sounds like. Which took a lot of like EQ and a lot of mixing to try and fit it, squeeze it all into the track. So then I added some hats as well. These are just from a sample pack, I think. It's from the Detroit Electro one again, is it? Oh yeah, it is, yeah. Just some like, just to give it a nice little sort of push towards the end of the tune. Funny thing here, this is the first. I added like a little, I wanted to sort of mess with the beat a little bit towards the end, just to kind of spice things up a little bit. So what I usually do is either just add like a little snare here, or take a kick out or something like that. But for this one, I thought, no, like let's do like if I was in like a punk band, would I want to like do a drum roll or something? So I came up with this. It's just the first crash cymbal that I think's ever been in a Satan tune since like the early days. What was that? Another bit of that sort of intro synth back in again. And I sort of just let Ben like kind of go nuts here and just like do whatever he wanted to do. And I didn't cut a lot of it up. I cut a bit here. Because I wanted to extend that scream. I thought it sounded really good, but like he only did it. It sounds so strange like that. But I think he only did it like once or twice, and I wanted to like, extend it a little bit. Thankfully, you can't really tell. I sort of get away with it there, but it's an extra like sort of little thing towards the end of the track, and then it's sort of obvious. Oh yeah, one thing we haven't talked about actually. I tried to add guitar into this tune. Oh my god, listen to that. So that's basically me just playing a sort of chord through my distortion pedal, and then I just swamped it in delay and reverb because the synth was just a little bit out of key still. The guitar was clashing with it loads, so I was like, okay, I'll have to wait until the rest of the track is sort of settling down a little bit. And I think, if I'm not too much mistaken, yeah, it starts off quite quietly, and then I sort of drag it in towards the end of the track. It just sort of sits underneath everything, just to give it like a bit of a shoegazy sort of bed that sort of, you know, just sits underneath everything. But it's I sort of get away with it there, I think. I think that sounds really nice towards the end, actually. There's too much delay and reverb to really figure out what note it is or what it's playing. So there you go, that's a nice little exit to it. And then yeah, I just sort of like knock things off one by one, and then that's about it. and then ended with a bit of Ben's vocal, like I think it's just his delay pedal. A final whoop. Yeah, that's nice. And then it just sort of ends like that. But it's also quite un-Satan like, because it's only what are we on? There you go. Not even 4:45, like almost pop song territory for me. Like 4:43, it sort of cuts off there. So yeah, so it's quite the short, like little short snappy sort of thing. But yeah, so that was Tell It to the Mountain anyway.